Welcome, everyone, to another edition of Deconversion Stories. I hope you guys like the new little outro that Mikey and I just, well, Mikey actually threw it all together. And this is our first time using that sucker. So, Mike, you are on the brand new show with the brand new intro. So, well, it's not really a brand new show. I've been doing this for over 2 years now. But, and yeah, I'll tell you what, brother, man, I've been I thought about getting you on like a long time ago, like probably over a year ago. And then finally, the universe aligned or whatever, and I was able to get you to come on and do the show. And all you guys that are hanging out in the chat right now, welcome to the show. We got a great conversation on ahead of us. Mike is going to talk. See, I got a Mikey in the backstage too, because he's the producer.
There was a time.
he keeps an eye on me, right? So he makes sure I don't go off the rails or anything like that. But anyways, what we're going to do is we talk to people about how they left their religion or found their way out of whatever belief system it was that they were involved in, and I talk about a little bit about the one good reason too, and kind of what you do in that sort of respect, because you are quite the active activist, if I can say it that way. Sure, I can say it that way. But anyways, Mike, why don't you kind of take us back to before you left and you were kind of having these doubts and the dominoes started falling, that kind of thing, and sort of tell us your journey out of that belief and into becoming the amazing, if I don't mind saying, activist that you are today.
First and foremost, I really appreciate that, Neil. Really happy and excited to be here. For me, growing up, I was surrounded by the religious. I was surrounded by Christianity specifically.
Sure.
And being a minority, on top of that, it was a very trying time. To give you an example, on top of, let's say, a spanking for something that you did wrong, I
got lots of those, by the way.
Right, and I had my fair share, and hold on one second here. Yeah, I had my fair share of discipline. Whether or not it was justified is another story. But what they would do is they would add on another layer, where they would make me read a portion of the Bible, whatever version that they deemed valuable, whether it was the King James version, etc. And then when they'd come back in the room, I'd have to recite the moral of that story, or be able to read back the point of the story and stuff like this. And if I didn't, even though I tried as I might to try to understand what was being said, or I did read it, let's say, and I couldn't articulate what I thought was going on, there would be more spanking or more time that I have to read. So fast forward, a lot of that happening, I can say I wasn't really meshing. Okay. And when I would ask questions, they would either be met with, spanking plus read some more, or just the spanking sometimes. And it got to a point where, hey, if I ask a question about this, it's going to result in pain. And I know that kind of sounds, my, parents knew that, they know how I feel now about the past, but that's kind of how it was. I didn't know one single human being who thought about this the same way that I did. I didn't know the word atheist.
Really? Like you'd never heard that word before?
No, never heard the word. Just, I knew non-believer and stuff like that.
Apostate?
But they were
How about that?
Apostate. Somebody leaving the faith and things like that, but I could never get on board initially. And I would always look at my brothers or my neighbors or my friends, and I would look at myself and say, how come I can't get on their level? How come I want to get there? How come I can't get there? And it was kind of like, at risk of being insensitive, a relative translation might be a paraplegic looking at somebody who's running, and I would look at myself, there's something wrong with me. How, why can't I get the experience? Why can't I fit in and be like them? And, I would chastise myself, and it was a hard time. It was a really hard time, and I just never could get there. Now, what I did wholeheartedly sell, everything and invest in was Saint Nick.
Okay.
And yeah, so Saint Nick and I had it in my head that I was going to go to the North Pole at one point. I was going to go work in the shop, and
It's really cold up there. You sure you want to do that?
yeah, I made it my plan was to when I become a grown up, I'm going to go work there, help him out. I know he has a lot of people helping, but I can do my part. Maybe I'll work part time. Uh, it was just something I wanted to do. I wanted to bathe the reindeer and feed them and kind of take care of the grounds or whatever I could do. And that was what I wanted to do. I was looking forward to helping kids and giving them gifts. And
Mhm.
I said, hopefully he likes
That's
me
admirable.
and he'll let me work there. I was really into that. And you might say, well, Mike, how are you struggling with accepting a deity, but you're okay with this? Wow, I wanted to work in that shop too. Well, that's a first. I haven't come across anybody else on the internet or in person that had such a traumatizing reaction to what I'm going to get into here in a minute.
Mm.
So maybe I'll have to touch base with Cat Humans there. But yeah, yeah. If you say, Mike, how was it you couldn't get on board with the deity, but you were wholeheartedly head over heels into this thing with the Saint Nick, and
Santa, yeah.
yeah, for me it was, he was a man, and I could see an airplane fly, and the sleigh I thought maybe flies the same way. It was a machine. I didn't think the reindeer were doing it. I thought it was a machine,
So let me
and
ask you something real quick.
yeah.
Thinking that way about the sleigh, what did you think the reindeer were they being held up by like anti-gravity type things, or like how did you sort of explain that one?
In my head, it was like the reindeer were to help it land, and they were
Okay.
just being pushed by whatever booster or rocket this, sleigh had, and
See,
and
they would have been dragged by it.
you're right. Well, yeah, I'm a kid, right? So,
Yeah, fair
but
enough, fair enough.
it was, and then when you think about, I had all of the things you would need to keep you from going off the rails. I had the
Mhm.
fireplace. I would go to the mall to visit and whisper in the ear, and I might have to whisper a little loud because my parents were right there, to hear exactly what I need. And then I would get the thing that I asked for, and it just solidified. And my dad would go on the roof the night before
Ah,
and make all types of
awesome.
noise, and so there's all these contributing factors that just made it.
For the
I had no
gifts,
good reason to think
did the
otherwise.
gift say like from Santa?
Of course,
Oh wow,
of course, and
awesome.
and then I did the cookies and the bites that would be out, and anything that you would think with the tradition and etc. I mean, those are all the things that I had, the stockings and the. So one of the nights, the eves, I don't know why, but I got big balls. I wanted to be a big boy, and I said, you know what? I don't care. I know they said if I go out there and I look, that's gonna ruin, Christmas, but I just wanted to give him a hug, or I wanted to let him know that I, exist. Or so I went out into the living room. I heard some noises, and I thought I timed it right, and I flipped the lights on, and my parents
Was your
were under
parent?
the. Yeah, they. Well, my dad yelled, "Oh shit!" And it was just I just lost it. I like snapped. It was, almost uh almost certifiable. It was a huge depression for me. You know,
Wow.
I don't know about you. I mean, when I don't even know if you ever celebrated or did anything for Xmas,
Well,
but
I was raised Jewish, so we did Hanukkah. But my best friend, I used to stay over at his place on Christmas Eve, and they always had a little something from Santa under the tree for me. So
okay,
I
so
got
you have
I got
some yeah, you know, other people that I talked to, they were like, yeah, I mean, I was upset, but then it was like, I'm still gonna get my gifts. I'm still gonna have a good time. It's still fun, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
for me, it was like the joy was gone, you know. Uh,
Yeah.
and so anytime I talk to a theist, I try to look back at my Santa Claus days, and that's not a knock to any theists that are watching. You know, I mean that with sincerity. Is that um, there was a true depression that set in, and I eventually got over it. But I say, I was going to meet Santa in the North Pole and all these things, and when that was taken away, it was like there isn't really a person that's doing all these good things for people, and um,
Right.
as good as I'm going to be, I'm not getting on a good list, and as bad as people are, they're not getting on a bad list, and that's the best I can do to try to relate to somebody who's transitioning maybe from being religious to being atheist or etc. So
Mhm.
that was my that was my fixation, as a kid, and I didn't have anybody ruin it for me. That nobody spilled the beans early on. My parents kind of let it go on a little bit longer than maybe it should have.
Right.
Uh, I don't know what age, you really would let that go, but maybe they thought some school friend of mine would tell me, and that just never happened. It's just everything aligned the way that it was. And it was literally me getting out of the bed to, I'm kind of thinking about it now, and just this, the trembling and the blood pressure and all those things happen. Uh, so I can't say I relate, but I can take my mind to that place, and yeah. And so when I talk to a theist, I try to do my very best to humble myself to say, well, as smart as you think you were sold on Saint Nick, so calm down.
Oh, I wouldn't worry about it. I mean, I think all of us hold some form of belief that aren't exactly true at some part in our life. I know I did many times, but
Mhm.
so this is, and plus you were a kid too, right? I mean, I was a Jew and believed in Santa. So, when I was super young, until my friends were like, no, he's not real, dude. I'm like, oh, really? Well, I feel bad for you guys.
Yeah, I see. So you had the friends to kind of break that to you. I mean, and the other thing, yeah, there wasn't an establishment set where um, every Friday we're going to meet up, and someone's going to grab you by the shoulders and say, "Remember, North Pole, presents are coming, presents are coming." That wasn't happening. So it might even be more so in a negative way for the theist to try to transition out of that. There wasn't a book or something, a mantra that I was saying. So that, like I said, that's the best that I can do. But yeah, as far as the religion part of it, my parents did try to push that hard, as I said, with the spankings all the way up until, I mean, even after the Saint Nick incident,
The
they,
Saint Nick incident.
yeah, it really was. I'm probably not doing it justice, but it really was a really tough time. The Yeah, but the onslaught of Jesus and Christianity, and being born in sin, and all of that was still being pushed, and enforced with violence, and they would say, probably, if they were here, they would say justified. Uh, I just never took to it, and for a long time, though, I did have a guilt of inadequacy, or, as I said, belonging. And I know if I don't say that I agree with this, like I know if I say I don't agree with this, it's going to result in pain or violence. And
Mhm.
I know if I say I don't agree with this, my friends won't like me. I'll be alone. So it was, again,
That's
I
what they
didn't have
condition you
anyone
to
to
think
confide it
too,
to.
I think. Right?
Say again.
I think that's what they condition you to think, I believe.
Yeah, and just the fact that because I ended up finding out 2 years ago that somebody I knew back then was actually atheist as well, but never said anything. So I'm in my
No.
mind thinking I'm the only one that thinks like this, and I'm, you know,
Yeah.
I'm a freak, or I'm, you know.
We're all freaks in our own way.
But yeah, so I get older, I move out, I joined the Air Force after high school. That was my quick ticket to uh, being on my own,
Mhm.
and man, that was so good. It was so good. It was like, yeah, I fucked up. I had some problems, and I fucked things up sometimes, but it was cool because I was like in charge of my own decisions, and I was 18, and it was good because it was like I eventually would run into people that were like, I don't accept that shit. And I was like, shh, what are you doing? Like, people can hear you. And I was still
Gonna
like that.
get
I thought,
lynched.
yeah, I thought it was like a club. Like we're in a secret society where we have to be quiet. We can't talk
Well, the
loud.
first rule of Atheist Club: not allowed to talk about
Yeah,
atheism.
it was. So that kind of gave me the balls to kind of like, well, maybe let me talk to some people, and so I started beating around the bush with those type of conversations. And in 2016 or 2017, a friend of mine by the name of Xavier Hayes, he was going through a lot. He's black, he's gay, he's an atheist. He would call himself a gaytheist. And
Atheist, yeah.
yeah, and he, at the time, he wasn't. He was religious, and he had an issue of, his mother doesn't accept him. You know, you name it. Everybody's not accepting him for this, that, or the third. And he had some issues to where he wanted to end his life. And he expressed that to me, and we had a couple of conversations. And the main thing that I took away from what he was saying was that he had to either let go of himself being gay, um, let go of the religion, or let go of his life.
Right.
And that type of conversation is paramount. That you have to win that debate, that argument. As to, do you think that you're valuable? And then he'd start talking about other people, and I'd have to stop him. And why are we talking about other people? I'm asking you, do you value yourself? So he eventually, over the course of having lots of conversations, but over the course of, I think, just under a year, um, he let go of the religion, not
Good
himself or
for
his
him.
life. And I still I get a little choked up about that, because I would go to sleep and think about that. And when I wake up, am I going to have one less friend, or you know so anyway, that happening um basically kind of charged some of the ideas behind starting a project where we would talk to people about why they believe certain things, not
Kind of
necessarily
like the
religion all the time.
street epistemology kind of thing, right?
Street epistemology. Yeah, I'm a big fan.
And
Huge,
that's
huge, huge fan.
Anthony signed that for me, which is
Freaking
pretty cool.
A.
Yeah.
Freaking A. Yeah. I would love to talk to Anthony, actually.
He's good people, man.
I
He's
like
really
his
good.
method. Like, well, and I might be a little bit similar. It's kind of a Bogosian. Are you familiar with?
Yes, I'm familiar with Peter Boghossian.
Yeah, it's kind of like that, but the twist is, um, we probably the easiest way to say it's kind of like talk heathen. We have you basically say what the problem is,
Mm-hmm.
after kind of steel manning your position. So you'll say something, and I'll say, "Do you mean this?" And you'll say, "No, that's not what I said." "Okay, what do you mean?" And then you'll say it back, and I'll say, "So you mean this?" And it's like, "Well, not really." And it's like, "Well, what do you mean?" And then you'll do it again, and then after I repeat it back to you, you say, "Well, that is kind of what I'm saying, isn't it?" and and at that point, when they get to that realization, and mind you, some people take 5 minutes, some people take 30 minutes.
Sure. Yeah.
But at the end of that breaking point there, I might say to them, and why do you think someone like me might take issue with that? And get them to steel man my position.
Right.
And
that's a good idea.
It's worked. It's worked. I mean, it worked on Xavier. As I said, he's still, breathing. He's still among us. He was enthusiastic about the project. He's had some recent melancholy with his family, so he's kind of stepped away from the project right now. But he took time out of his busy schedule to meet up with me. This last talk we just did about sleep habits like insomnia, sleepwalking, nightmares, night terrors, sleep paralysis, things of that nature, which was a good talk. But that's kind of how the project started.
Sleep paralysis sucks, man. That's happened to me a couple times.
Yeah. And in that, if anyone's interested, check out that talk. It's about 2 hours, but there's 6 people in the conversation. Everybody got everybody got a piece of the action, and it's hit like 1,000 views so far. So pretty good for 2 hours. I know most people, your attention spans, they're going to want to watch a video of a cat playing piano.
15 minutes,
2 minutes or something, But I mean, it was really good. Xavier had some good points that he added. But that's basically how the One Good Reason started. Was I took something that had happened to me and applied it to my friend and got a positive outcome. And he wouldn't say this, but I kind of look at it like, the mouse taking the thorn out of the lion's paw, and then the lion feels indebted to the mouse, sort of a thing. So I would say I was like the mouse, and he felt revitalized, and he felt that he's a human being, and his life has value. And why are all these people that he loves not acknowledging that? And, so he was enthusiastic, as I said, to start conversations about different topics. And we would talk about anything, really. We would talk about love or consciousness or reward and punishment or, apology and forgiveness even, and it's really good to talk to the layman, so to speak. I consider myself a layman, and try to see why you're saying what it is that you're saying. It's kind of sort of like the street epistemology, and the idea is you'll either pivot from your position based on what you've uncovered yourself, or you'll probably suffer a cognitive dissonance and leave that conversation emboldened in what you were doing. Battery acid all the way, drinking battery acid versus water, for example. So, but yeah, it's been running strong here for the past 3 years. 2017, I would say officially, and yeah, I plan to continue it. I did find a replacement. I don't know if interim or permanent, but I did find a replacement to kind of pick up the torch and help me continue on. So I'm looking forward to our future talk. We have something coming up called Distant Minds. It's a side series that I've been working on where we're just talking about.
mentioning that in the chat.
Oh, okay. Yeah. It's crazy how it started and like where it's going. But yeah, it's talking about the possibility of like aliens and things of that nature. Just kind of how our behavior would be, and humanism versus extraterrestrials, and would humanism be racist at that point, and things of that nature. But yeah, that's basically my experience with growing up with a religious family and then trying to push the dogma on me. Not really accepting it, like a crinkled $1 bill,
Crinkled $1 bill. You could at least make it a 20.
No, it wasn't worth that much.
See, now I got that Screaming Trees song going through my head. Torn like an old dollar bill. I don't know if you guys have heard that song, Dollar Bill, but
I haven't heard that one.
Yeah, by the Screaming Trees, Seattle band, out of the grunge era, that kind of thing. Because I'm old, people. That's right.
Yeah, I was just talking to a friend of mine who was over here a little bit earlier. If I'm a little off, it's because I was taking a bunch of CBD. We were puffing some CBD, and I'm really boozed up, man. If you can't tell, I'm feeling really good.
You seem perfectly fine to me, and just so that you feel a little bit better, how about I do this right now? I'll join you kind of on the fringe there.
Yes,
because I have here. I have
crack it, stack it, bro.
no crack.
Yeah.
I have gummy bears. So
I would have preferred the bears.
I get the.
They were the
ones.
pre-rolls. It was a pre-roll. No, but I was talking to a friend of mine, and you know, he agrees with everything that I say about, like, you know, there's no free will, and you know, like I'm a hard determinist.
I think free will is one of those things. I think we have a sense of it, but it's not quite what we think it is. I mean, I still think I'm making decisions for myself, but of course, we now know that our brains make those decisions before we're even aware of the decision being made. But I still think that we do make those decisions because it's still our brain doing it.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're doing it. It's kind of like I like to look at it like a Camaro engine. You put water in the gas tank and there's a malfunction. The engine is malfunctioning, but there was specific input that, you know, caused it to malfunction. Caused the malfunction. What happens is the outcomes. It's like we only care about the outcomes. You know, the prisons are full of outcomes, but they're not. Nobody talks about the antecedents. You know, how could we really trace down those antecedents? You know, I feel during this whole COVID thing, you know, trying to do the tracing back to who you had contact with is kind of similar to thinking about determinism. Is you know, the previous dominoes, you know, that were interacting with you, and but yeah, the prisons are full of the outcomes. But I was talking to a friend of mine, and he was agreeing with most everything I was saying. But then he threw me for a loop. He said, I don't consider myself an atheist, though. So I said, okay, what do you mean? He said, well, I like to call myself an agnostic. So
I hate to break it to agnostics, but in a sense, you're still an atheist.
This, you know,
because you don't believe in a deity. Sure, you may not know if one exists, but who can fucking know if one exists? I mean, I'm 99.999% sure that no deities exist at all myself. So I'm like a pretty hard atheist.
Yeah, it was just strange because he was like, yeah, oh yeah, you know, I think I'm an agnostic. So I had to say to him, think of like an old school light switch, right? The old style with the little piece there that goes up or down, right? Mm-hmm. And he says, okay. And I said, well, the theist would like this. When it's on, that's the light, right? That's the light. When it's
there are off, 4 lights. Sorry.
Yeah. when that switch is off, you're without light. There's no light, right? The theist was the one that invented the term atheist, right? Without theism, right? I said, now you're saying you're an agnostic, and you probably think that is some middle ground position. And he agreed. And I said, okay, when you put the light switch in the middle, you're still without the light. The theist would still point to you and say, you're not accepting this as truth. You're not light on. Therefore, you're without theism. So when I said that was kind of like a mic drop, you know, pop the collar. But, you know, I could tell he was thinking about it, but I was just like, I really think it was more of the stigma or maybe some kind of a baggage effect with the term. But just like you said, for all intents and purposes, I mean, there's no light on. You're not, not to make it sound like we're idiots, but I mean, you know, in the context of the, in the context of the scenario that I painted.
Yes.
So I don't know. I think a lot of people they shy away from the term just because of whatever historical baggage existed prior
A
to.
lot of people do because they don't like. Because if you say agnostic, people don't fucking lose their shit like some people do when you say atheist, right? They automatically think, oh, fuck, this is an immoral piece of shit that's a criminal and eats babies and yada, yada, all the other stereotypical garbage that goes along with that. But as an agnostic, oh, well, they're just having issues whether or not God exists.
Right,
We
right,
might
right,
be able
right.
to help them. Quick, let's break out the Bible and help them. It's like, fuck off, asshole.
I had to I actually had to say hey to somebody today that being bald, for example, right,
Mhm.
lacking hair
Mhm.
is irrelevant to whether or not you agree with rape or if you drive the speed limit or if you want to light a dog on fire. It's irrelevant. There are
Ah,
people, there is someone was like, well, you're an atheist, so your morality is such. And I said, well, first
which
of
is a
all,
load.
bald mustached men, you can't lump them together and say that they have some codified behavioral guideline that
Right.
we 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 get up at 2 a.m. and we pray to the north or something. There's no codified behavioral guideline. You have to ask the individual bald mustached man,
Right.
do they like to do this or do they like to do that, and why? So that's kind of the type of conversations that I get is this fallacy of composition where or you might even
Mm.
say a hasty generalization,
Mhm.
where they've talked to one atheist who is a Nazi and a racist and believes that rape is the perfect best way to spread the seed, you know, and then they've taken that, extrapolated it to the rest of us. And I try to tell everybody is you can't put an S on the end of atheist unless you're talking about lack of belief in a deity or deities.
Mhm.
Anything outside of that realm, you're just strawmanning their position without even talking to them.
Yeah, or really knowing what it's about.
Exactly. So, but I think he'll come around to the idea. But yeah, it's that. I mean, he's not praying. He's not worried about a deity punishing him in hell or any of these type of things that I had to learn, or they try to get me to accept. But so I'm just like, you're an atheist, bro. I mean, I would rather there not even be the word, uh, I don't go around saying I'm an abaloniist. I mean, I don't like baloney, but I don't,
That's
that's
okay.
just
I love
silly.
baloney.
I
I
mean,
don't know why,
so,
but yeah, yeah.
right. And, and there you go. We're both atheists and you like baloney and I don't,
You're an
and
ableist, right?
right. So it's like, if the term could go away, I mean, that would be great. Um, I shouldn't have to introduce myself as, hey, I'm an
Hi,
atheist.
I'm Mike the atheist. Yeah, no, I get
Right,
you
right,
because
right.
it's just a descriptor, and it only needs to come up if you're asked, right? Oh, so
Exactly.
what church do you go to? Oh, well, actually, I'm an atheist. I'm an unbeliever. I don't really go to a church.
Like I'll say it. I mean, drop of a hat. I'll
Sure.
it's just I feel like we've been put in again. We were labeled as not being a part of the club, and what they like to do is say that not having a hobby is a hobby. They like to say
Non-stamp
atheism
collector.
is a religion, or
Yeah, yeah,
you're right. You're non-stamp collecting, etc. Right. So
yeah.
it's it's been
Except in
interesting.
my case, it's non-coin collector. Except I keep
Non-coin.
getting coins, right? Because Mario coins.
But yeah, it's been interesting talking to some of these people. Like I was talking to an internet pastor.
Hmm,
I don't know if he's really a pastor, but he was I'm not going to say his name either. But there's an
that's
internet
fine.
pastor, and him and I were having a little back and forth in the text, and then we ended up doing a live video. And I don't know if you've seen it, but he I
Doesn't
was
ring a
asked
bell.
I was asking him about the origin of choice.
Okay.
I said, did your God create choice? And he says yes. So I said, okay, did it choose to? He says, right. Watch this. So he's he says no. And I said, okay, so just before we continue, I just want to make sure I heard what you said. Your God created choice. It didn't choose to. Does that mean that it was forced? And after some hemming and hawing and and back and forth and trying to pin down what you mean and these type of things, he eventually was like, yeah, he was forced.
By who?
That was hard for him. Yes, fine. Okay. Then I said, who or what forced your deity to create choice? And why don't you worship what that was that had more power to guide your deity to, because it sounds like your deity is determined by,
Yep.
cause and effect. His response, the cognitive dissonance that happened on camera, was he forced himself to create choice. So I was,
Whoa.
yeah. So I was taken aback, and
Now,
I
did he choose to do that?
right, right. So no, so what I
Turtles all the way down, people.
what I said was, I'm trying to remember. I said, okay, if you force yourself to do something, is that a choice? And he says, well, technically, yeah. And I said, okay, so how are you sailing a boat to an island to build the first boat? So then we're back to where we started.
That's right.
And
That's right. It's a
it
good
was
one. I like
really
that.
it was really painful. It was painful. I mean, I'm not trying to be funny either. I mean, if you watch it, you can see his face and see it really setting in, and see it kind of dissolve and
Mhm.
really fall away. And I think out of I don't know, nervousness, or I'm I'm probably not describing it accurately, but
Could be panic,
he
actually.
just doubled down, and then when I asked him, I thought we just went over that doesn't make sense. He agreed it doesn't make sense, and just kind of sucked his teeth, and it was like, man, you're so close. You're
God
so
works in
close.
mysterious
You're so
ways.
close. So and eventually, I think a year later, he became atheist.
Really?
Yeah, and that
Oh,
lasted.
you think you probably set him on that course, you think?
I would think
Because you
so.
really challenged the way he thought about things, and you could tell just by the way you're talking about it.
But he also went on the atheist experience 3 months after that and got destroyed. And I mean, this guy had a big following. I think Tom
Wow.
Green even was one of his followers.
Tom Green,
Uh,
oh, good Lord.
yeah, but everything just started. It didn't help.
Circling the drain.
It didn't help going on the atheist experience. Didn't help him. But yeah, like a year later, he became atheist. That lasted 3-4 months, and then he went back to being a theist, and the followers came back, and so I don't know, but
Hmm.
I try to ask him what caused him to go back, because there would have to be something robust, right, that caused you to go back, and
Yeah. Yeah.
he's never responded. He's never given me an answer to that. Like for you, I don't know if you were ever religious. Have you?
Eh,
I know you were raised a way, but
I was
um,
raised as a Jew, so which is weird because I was born to Christians. And I always talk about this. I would say this is kind of one of those things like if God has this plan and the only way to God is through Jesus, why would he have me born to Christians, given up for adoption, and then raised by Jews who don't believe in Jesus? What kind of shit ass plan is that? Oh, he's testing you. Testing me?
yeah, it's
Fuck
always a
off.
test. It's always a test.
Well, I
And
guess I fucking failed because I ended up going into paganism, Wicca, and then I'm an atheist.
did you ever have any pull to go back,
No,
internally, not people?
no, no. Once I was out, for me, anyways, it's like the Wizard of Oz. Once you see past that curtain, you can't go back. For me, right? So it's like now that I know what's going on behind the scenes and that and stuff like that, or now that I think I know what's going on, because can we really say we're sure of anything?
Right.
Like I said before, I'm 99.9999 bar, which means 9 and going on forever and never hitting 100. I'm that sure. Okay, so it's not 100% though. So, but it's damn close.
Right. I'm not. I don't get embarrassed.
Nah.
I've had dreams where, in my adult life, where I'm working at the North Pole, um, and a mantra that I repeat, that I wrote a couple years ago, was, I think on all of the happiness that I've caused, and I am happy.
Mhm.
And you know those dreams of me being there, and having an infinite supply of things that can make people happy, and having an infinite energy source that
Infinite.
should transmit it to other people. And it was, it feels good. And then you wake up and you're like, oh, this is some repressed, memory of, my childhood so I can imagine anyone coming from religion to lack of it or letting it go.
Mhm.
Kind of like a smoker, or I know, well, if you're an ex-smoker, I'm an ex-smoker. You
Damn
probably
smoker.
have,
Remember you saying that before we went
there's
live?
there's no Christianity patch,
They should make
it's
one.
a Christianity patch or a religion
Yeah, yeah.
patch,
Religion
so
patch.
it's really,
Fallacious belief patches.
hats off to any ex-religious that's watching. I can't relate to that aspect of it. I am fascinated. I would think it would be too tantalizing to go back, because you have this idea of your lost loved ones that you were going to see, and then the next week or the next day, whatever it was, you've have to go through some grieving process again, maybe.
Mhm. Yeah, a little bit. I've heard
Y-
that from a few
y-
people I've spoken to.
and I mean, I didn't have to go through that, so I'm very fascinated with that whole aspect.
Nicoderm 316.
Look at
That's why Mikey's my producer.
It's like, yeah, I mean, no, guys, I'm not gonna wake up and
Be a theist all over again. Yeah.
be a I was gonna say Satanist,
Oh,
but Sant,
Satanist?
a Saint Nickist, or however you would. But I'm not gonna wake up and go back into that, obviously, but I just look at that like, man, um, it's like you can't really give them a hard time about clinging to it, because they have the roasting and the boiling and the melting, and their friends, Pastor Patch. It's, like there was a point in my life, I think I was 25 or 24, where
I was
75,
25 once.
like 70% of my friends died.
What? What do
Yeah,
you mean? What? What?
like my close friends, I had a friend that was run over by a fire truck, another one, killed
Holy shit.
himself,
Oh,
another
dude,
one
I'm sorry.
was murdered. So I can think about that and say, what if I was religious and you know I'm going to have a better time next time, or like the book says, right? This life is like dirty rags, wiping our feet, and
Yeah, wiping your feet for the stepway to heaven. Yeah.
right. And so it's trippy, because it's like to let that go and say, no, I'm not going to see Neil. I'm not going to see Neil again. That was the last time, and we argued, and I didn't get to apologize or reconcile with him, and
Yeah.
that's it. For those
I've had
people,
one like that too myself.
you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I'm just amazed anytime I talk to somebody that says, "Oh, I used to be religious and I'm an atheist now," I just look at them like, man, I could never. I don't know if I could ever do what you've done. I just, so for some reason, never got on the roller coaster to begin with. Not because I'm smart or anything.
You dabbled a little bit because of friends and family, but you never really right on board.
I was desperate. I was so thirsty to be like them, and I could just never fake it enough to get on their level.
He'd know you were faking anyways.
Right. And that's the anxiety of they have to know I'm not really, why can't I, get into this? And I look back at that time as just so demoralizing. Like, man, here I am, the smashing of my self-worth and the destruction of my personality and my self-esteem, only to feel like time was wasted, when I become a man and become an adult. And then, like I said, all of that history, right, bringing me to the present time where I'm speaking to my friend Xavier, who's saying, I'm going to go to hell because I'm gay. Why am I waiting around? Why don't I just send myself there now? And that way, it's the most good I can do for my family.
Holy shit. Wow. Wow.
You know,
I can't imagine being in that kind of a mindset.
that's why we do what we do, and it's not just religion. But like I said, it's other topics. I would highly encourage anyone to check us out. Most of our stuff is on Facebook. I know, but it's facebook.com/ the one good reason. The
Link
number
below,
one.
guys.
Oh, okay, yeah, thanks. Thank you. Trying to branch out to YouTube. The
You'll do it.
supporters
You've
seem
already
to like.
gained like something like, hang on, let me check again. Because when I first put this together, you were at 118 subs. I was already a subscriber. So,
Oh, thank you, man. I appreciate it.
oh, I subbed a long time ago. But now you're at, hang on here. This might get loud for a second here, guys, because hang on. So let me go down and check here. Nope, that's not it. There we go. You are now 128 subscribers. And the last time I looked, you were at 120. So you had gained 2 by the time we just start going. And now you're at 128. Mikey's challenging people to make sure you get to 150 before this thing's over, or at least before the after party's over. So
really,
if you haven't subbed to Mike, the one good reason on YouTube, go and do it now because it's worthwhile. Okay, because I've seen a lot of you sometimes you blurt shit out on Facebook. You have a little Facebook Live thing going on, right? Oh, let's tune in and go, because I'm usually at work. I listen to like everyone while I'm working, and it drives my fucking boss crazy because like, you're always got somebody on there. I'm going, yeah, well, these are friends that I'm trying to support, so shut up. He's like, okay,
yeah, thank you, man. But yeah, it's like the Facebook right now, I think is at like 2,000 supporters, but I can't get them to come over to YouTube, and I don't do videos consistently. Like a buddy of mine, you might know Justin from the Empathetic Atheist show. I mean, he's got like his brand, he's got like merch.
I know Justin.
He's doing 3 times a week, and he's more and more, and he's on top of it. Hey, I really appreciate it. Someone had just put up there.
The best of friends. Good people.
And I'm trying to get on that level, but it's just like, I have all these things going on in the background, and I'm like, man, if I step away for too long, it'll grow stale, or I'll lose the touch, or I'll lose that wave, or that attention. So it's
happened to my Yu-Gi-Oh channel.
Oh man, I would check that out, man. I was a fan of Yu-Gi-Oh growing up, man.
Oh yeah, Saris 13 is my channel for Yu-Gi-Oh. Lots of live duels and pack openings and all kinds of fun shit. The kids used to love it because they'd always want to be in my videos, right? And when I went to major events like down the coast in California, Seattle, they'd all come up and they'd want me to sign their Judgment Dragon cards and stuff like that because my deck was always Lightsworn. I loved Lightsworn, so.
Yeah, my daughter's just getting into it, so yeah, I'll have to pull it up. It's Sandwich.
No, Saris, Sayras 13.
Oh, Saris 13. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I was about to say Sandwich. Okay.
Sandwich 13. No.
No, but yeah. There are 2 debates, if you want to call them. The one that I just mentioned, the internet pastor. There's another one with a Reformed Calvinist apologist who, I don't know what he was thinking, but he came on, and his father's even a preacher of a mega church and all this type of stuff. And he's going to college to be a professional apologist, if I'm doing it justice. I don't know what you would call
professional bullshitter. That's what I call
it. Short version, he comes on and he ends up agreeing with me 4 times, and it was a little strange. I mean, I have to say, it was on video. He's agreeing with me. And
like your dressed up tiger logo.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, we had to figure out a way to make it stick, because it's the one good reason is a freaking mouthful. So I would call the live talks, because I would do interviews, like personable interviews. Like I would sit in the same room with Neil, for example. Like maybe I'd fly out or whatever and do an interview that's just recorded, not live, uncut, raw. And then I would do the live talks, which is more, laid back, informal, etc. And we would call that exactly, and we would call that Tiger Talk. And people were like, Tiger, like, but it was T1GR. So because I wore a suit in the first interview, I ended up putting a tiger head on a suited guy.
Which is great. Hey, you ever want me on to chat? I'm down for that anytime.
100%, man. I'll get you scheduled right out. So we're going to do this Distant Minds episode 3. I don't know if you're into alien conversation. I'd be happy to have you on there. But I of course, though, want you a one-on-one session, kind of like now. kind of go. I have a specific topic I think that you would. I'm not going to share it here and spoil it, but anyway, I'll hit
No
you up
spoilers, people.
at a later time.
You're
Yeah.
just gonna have to wait, like those packages under the trees at Christmas. You gotta wait till the morning.
Or you can go out in the middle of the night and flip the light on and ruin your life.
Yeah. Whoa!
But no, I like even in my adult life, I'm very OCD, and if once I get focused on something, I have to see it to the end, right? So I'm raking the lawn, I'm bagging, I'm doing all this. The sun's been down for a while. It's probably getting close to 8 p.m. It's dark out there. There's mosquitoes. I'm fixated on getting these weeds out of the cracks on my sidewalk, right?
Mhm.
These guys walk up and they say, "Hey, neighbor." So I look up. I'm like, "Hey," kind of awkward. Say, "Hey, we're just a couple of regular guys. We're walking the neighborhood, and sometimes we check on people and see what they're into and what they're doing." And I said, "Oh, I appreciate that. Yeah, that sounds like kind of like what I do. And yeah, I'm just out here doing some yard work." And he said, "Oh man, it looks like a good job. Shoot the breeze." I thought they were gonna walk away, and that was that. But he said, "Hey, is there anything you'd like us to pray to, the one Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ,
One Lord and Savior.
to help you out with?" And they seemed like, they meant well.
Yeah, they usually do, right?
I didn't want to be an ass or just, but at the same time, I wanted to demonstrate the problem, right? So I said, "Yeah, could you ask him to remove this oak tree out of my front yard for free?" And he said, he doesn't think he's going to be able to do that. And I was kind of like, well, if you can't remove the
pretty
tree,
good. So it's not surprising.
if you can't remove this tree, I don't know. Well, that's the only thing I want. I don't know. And you could see there was an older gentleman, and I think it was his son. So you could kind of see wow, that was embarrassing.
Sounds like they were like either Mormons or JWs, which
I don't know. No. I have had two. Okay, I've had an SUV pull up. I live in a cul-de-sac now. They've pulled up in the cul-de-sac. There was a fancy SUV. I don't know what it was, a GMC Terrain or something like this, right? And these women come out of there, and they power walk right through my lawn. I'm mowing the lawn, and
hey,
it was
get off my lawn.
Yeah. I'm mowing and they charge right up, and I thought they were lost or something had happened. So I take it serious. I turn off the lawnmower. What's going on? And they said, here, and they hand me a pamphlet, and the Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints or whatever it was. I think they were Mormons. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm trying. It's hot. I'm trying to mow my lawn. I don't have anywhere to put this. And they were like, what church do you go to, or you want to go to our church? And they're still continuing the conversation. And I just asked them, why did they believe? The lady told me some story that she prayed for something and then it happened. I explained post hoc ergo propter hoc,
Yeah.
Clapping your hands and the lights come on and you say that was caused by my hands clapping, but maybe you turn around and it was your girlfriend or your wife that flipped the switch at that moment to pull a prank on you.
Yeah. Or one of those moments, like this used to happen to me a lot as a kid, and it used to freak me out. I thought I had some sort of psychokinetic powers. You walk by a lamp standard on the street and the light goes out.
Yeah.
You're like,
right.
And did I do that?
Right. And without any challenge to it, you're susceptible to just, and if it happens again, now it's even stronger. It's even stronger bias, confirmation bias. But yeah, when I used a couple examples. The one lady started crying. I did feel bad that, of course, I caused her to cry, and the woman was trying to console her, and they're on my lawn. So at the same time, I'm kind of like, can you get off my lawn? But I didn't want to move her yet because she's crying, and it was just really awkward. And this man comes out of the driver's side of the GMC or whatever it was, and comes and collects them and takes them back to the thing, and then they drove off. And I'm like, they're gonna go to some other house and they're gonna do this. It's like this is gonna sound shitty, but I'm thankful that I didn't have to go through that. Imposing my ideas on. I don't know if atheists do atheists. Here we go, putting an S on the end of atheist. But do you know any atheist or any atheist who knocks door to door with a trash bin and asking to collect Bibles or Qurans or,
No, but that's a great idea.
It's like we don't do that. I see. I don't want to generalize, but I mean, I'll speak for myself. I mean, I don't do that.
Right.
And so I find it strange that you would go out and try to do this and then get upset when you don't get the response that you want. If you ask Dad to borrow the keys and he says no, you have to be prepared for the no. You don't start crying about it.
Mm-hmm.
That was a possibility, right? It was.
Yeah.
And then you get the knock on the door where they say, there were these two young boys. They had their bicycle helmets on. And I opened the door. I was in a bad mood. And they say, "Hey, we got some good news for you." And I said, "What's the good news? Have all child amputees been, have they regrown their limbs? Is there a cure? is there a cure for cancer? What's the good news?" He said, No, it's nothing quite like that. Just came here to tell you that, God has a plan for you." And I said, "Well,"
oh, does he?
I said, that's a little silly. And he said, "What do you mean?" And I said, "Well, first of all, why is the deity giving you a message to give to me? And why are you, reading that message? You're kind of invading my privacy here, is kind of," and I said, second,
why does he come to you to tell you this?
And you have to get on a bicycle and all this. But then I'm like, why are you coming to my house? Wouldn't the deity have told you that I'm an atheist? I thought the plan for me was hell.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Bro,
and he should have already known you were going to be an atheist to begin with, right?
Right.
Even before you were born.
It was just the blank fuck. And then the door just closed. It was just demonstrable. Like, you are wrong. You're demonstrably wrong. You assumed because I'm a minority that I, subscribe to some type of religion, maybe a Baptist or something, right? I'm in Florida on top of that. And they were just wrong. They were dead wrong. So you didn't get the information from the deity. And you're here in a shirt and tie with a bicycle helmet, and you're biking around this apartment complex telling people that the deity has a plan for them. It's like, well, why does the deity need you to do a commercial for them in the streets?
Right. Yeah. An infomercial. Like, deities wouldn't need that. They could just pop their head into your house and go, "Hey, by the way, I got this going on for you for the rest of your life. You good with that?" And of course I'd be like, "Fuck off, asshole. I've heard about you."
Like, if I could, like, what was like the best argument that you've heard for the existence of some type of deity or God? If there is one, I don't know, but
I think the closest thing I could think of that would be like the best argument is, and I'm almost embarrassed because I don't really think any of them are good. I'll be honest with you. Right. I don't think any of them are logically good. But I would say, the whole, everything that begins to exist has a cause. So therefore, the universe began to exist. So something must have caused the universe, which is true, but not in the way they're thinking. Mm-hmm. And I think that's about as close as they get to trying to be somewhat accurate with their claim that something caused the universe. And we're going to put our stamp of God on it, which they don't have to do because we may not know exactly what happened. And now they're saying that there's some form of observable evidence that there may have been a universe before this one. Although I'm hearing sort of mixed things about that now. Right. But we'll see. In time, we'll be able to tell.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's about as close as I get for something that could be like where I could see someone going, that makes sense. Like the watchmaker thing. Like, watches don't build themselves. And, you can throw a tornado in a junkyard and it would assemble. It's like, yeah, I get all those are ridiculous, by the way. But yeah, I mean, I think as close as a good argument as they can get would be that stupid fucking one. It's like,
yeah, they're slick with
the gaps.
They're 100%. It's slick with the begins to exist, and then they put something in front of the XYZ. They put a 1 in front of it, saying this never began to exist. And it's like, well, how did you get there? I mean, it's evidently the case with these other things, and sure, we can shrug and say we can't go that far back. We don't know. But you're inclined to put some agency behind that with an intention or abilities, etc. I would probably agree with you. That's probably the best that they could do. Is probably the best way to say.
I could see it being convincing to someone with a Inferior mind. No, I'm just kidding, people.
I'm on your show, so I don't want to. When I'm on my show, I let loose a little bit.
Oh, you're
Uh,
dude. My show. There's no fucking rules here. You can do whatever you want.
okay, cool.
Right?
The in that case,
I'm all for freedom. I'm all for about freedom of expression, freedom. As long as you don't start saying, horrific things like we should have burnt more people in the Holocaust or something like that, then I'm fine.
No. That's another topic for another time.
Yeah, you don't seem like somebody that would say something like that anyway. So
no, sir. This deity, right? I like to talk about the abilities. That's usually, if anybody watches any of the clips where I actually talk about
you do.
religion, I like to talk about the abilities. And the first thing that I go for the throat. I go right to the omniscience. The omniscience is the worst possible ability you could give to the deity, and the theists don't realize that. They want it to know everything, and the Bible says that it knows all things, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Malachi.
Except where Adam and Eve were hiding in the garden.
Correct. Or Cain and Abel, right? Where's he has to be like, am I his keeper? Aren't you deity? But
he should have known that he was going to lose against iron chariots too. I mean, come on.
There's a lot of in the flood and having to rebuild and all.
Why didn't he didn't see that coming? Like, well, he knew he'd have to do the flood. Then he's an asshole. That's all I can tell you.
But I go right to the jugular where I say, if you're a deity, I don't know if I said it already in here. I'm a little tipsy, but stop me if I've already said this. But yeah, I say if the deity is presented with two options, between Coke and Pepsi, and
Pepsi every time,
and it knows, let's say it knows it's going to drink Coke. When it's presented with that opportunity, it has to drink the Coke. It can't say, even though I knew I was going to drink Coke, I still have the option I'm going to drink Pepsi, because then it would have foreseen that it's going to drink Pepsi. Mm-hmm. So it's forced to do the thing that it knows it's going to do. And if it can't escape this, then
what
it's
if
not omnipotent.
It knows that it's going to be undecided about which one to drink, and then opts for the Dr. Pepper instead?
If there's a third option, it's always going to know the outcome of the thing that it would end up doing. It can't
ultimately, sure, yeah.
It can't get to the fork and divert from what it previously knew.
Right.
And then because it can't do this, because it's a slave to its own forethought, its own actions, then it's not omnipotent, and that takes away the Jenga blocks. I'm not omnipotent, and I'm not a deity either, and then the other part of that is, well, my deity can get out of that situation. I say, how so? And they say, well, it could just turn that Coke and Pepsi to two Pepsis to get out of that situation, or it can change its own future. And I said, okay, well, in order for it to do that, it would have to know it was going to change what it knew it would know before it knew it would know it, which is a tongue twister, right?
You end up with infinite loops either way.
Right. And somebody had a retort, and they said, well, a computer can do that. And I said, hold on, so a computer can change what it's going to know? And he says, right. And I said, but with intent.
Computer would it change? It's whatever input's put in by a human.
Correct. But look at this. I said, with intent, how would the computer know to change this thing it needs to if it doesn't know it needs to change that thing?
Right.
The whole idea is you'd have to do it before you knew you were going to do it. Otherwise, you're just following along with what you forethought. Anyway, it's basically there's no escape. The deity is forced to do what it knows. Any action, creating the earth, creating humans. It knows at this particular point in time, humans will be created. It can't say, fuck humans, I'm going to do Rumpelstiltskin. It can't do that. It can't say, let there be fart or let there be barbecues instead of let there be light, right?
Right. Yeah.
And they get upset. And then I say, and your deity is omnipresent and timeless and eternal. And they say, right. And I say, okay, so it's experiencing planting the seed of an apple tree, and it's eating the apple of that apple tree simultaneously.
Mm-hmm.
And of course they agree. And I said, okay, so when it said, let there be light, light already existed. Mm-hmm. And when it's creating the earth, it's actually resting on the Sabbath.
Mm-hmm.
And when, it's experiencing all of these things ahead of time.
Sounds like Arrival.
Yeah. This is great. We should bring this up in the Distant Minds 3.
Yeah.
But so it's like, okay, so what's the big deal? What if that is the case? And it's like, well, if you're praying, you get into a car accident and your child's in the back seat bleeding out, and you're crying your eyes out, and you're praying to the deity that it lives. There was no other way but for you to beg for the outcome that you would prefer. And that outcome may not go the way that you prefer, but it was still required that you beg for it. And when I explain it like that,
which makes him a dick, by the way.
I mean, even Jesus said, isn't there anyone else I could pass this cup to? And the Lord was like, or God was like, no, this is the plan. So Jesus says, okay, well, not my will, your will be done. And it's like, yeah, it will. And that was part of the plan, that you would ask and try to get out of it, and then you would just succumb to the will and go ahead and get crucified. So that's why I say the theists agree with determinism if they believe in a divine plan, but they're personifying it, they're anthropomorphizing it, they're giving it some type of agency, where I'm just looking at the mechanisms. But so that is God deconstructed.
There you go. Well, Mike, we have gone past the hour, which is great.
Oh, sure.
I always like it when we have so much to talk about that we actually break the hour dome, or the hour line kind of thing. Yeah, there you go. But it was great that you joined me today, man. I've been looking forward to chatting with you ever since we set this up, because like I say, I pop into some of your little chit chats once in a while, and I dig what you have to say. So I thought it was going to be a really good one.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, so thank you for joining me today, brother. And we're going to do an after party. Are you good with that? You still got a couple more beers, I assume? All right. Let's get even more drunk and stoned on the after party.
Yeah.
Now, folks out there in YouTube land, I'm not condoning that people do this all the time. It's entirely up to you. But I mean, here it's legal. So both drinking and marijuana are both legal here. So I get my gummy bears from a buddy of mine who makes them for a friend of mine's shop. So, and I get my... Well, we won't talk about where I get my weed from.
Okay.
Anyway, but
trick or treat.
That's right. But I do want to thank all my patrons, because without you guys, this show wouldn't be as improving as it is starting to become. And there will be, by the way, the Quiet Gorilla, who's in the chat and did the $20 super chat today. Thanks for that, brother. Thank you so much for that. He's been one of my biggest supporters. He's bought me a whole bunch of stuff, including this little foamy guy and my green screen, which I'm building a frame for. So I'll have that kind of shit you guys can look forward to. And also my carrying case for the Yeti. So I'll be able to go on the road. But if any of you guys would like to join Mike and myself in the after party, and of course my producer extraordinaire, who I'm going to add to the stream right now. Thank you, Mikey, for doing what you do for the show.
That was messed up. You didn't even tell me you were going to do that. I could have been picking my nose.
You could have been, and that would have been hilarious. But J Mike, God damn it, J Mike, give me a fucking message so we can get you lined up for the show. Anyway, thank everyone for joining. I hope you guys enjoyed the conversation. We're going to have some more fun in an after party. So if you are wanting to get in, you can message me via Twitter or Facebook on Messenger. Just so you guys know, I don't really do Facebook all that much anymore. And I even have my notifications for Messenger turned off. But if I know that I'm conversing with somebody, I go into it. Oh, yeah. Like, dude, if I don't turn it off, it's going bing, 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 bing all the time. And I hate that shit. So, basically that's what the thing. I just made a Facebook. Good for you, J Mike. Give me a message there. I'll look for it this time. Anywho. All right, guys. Until the next time, guys, like I always say at the end of these shows, with the whole COVID-19 thing going on, remember to be well and be kind, or be well and be safe, and above all, be kind. And like the late, great Christopher Hitchens once said, it's called faith because it's not knowledge. And I got a new outro, guys. So we'll see you guys next time.
Thanks for having me on.